The creator archetype is one of imagination and vision. It's the force that urges people to paint, invent, compose, design, and bring something new into the world. But the same drive that fuels creation can also turn inward and be destructive. When the creator becomes consumed by perfectionism, doubt, or the fear of not being original enough, inspiration turns into frustration. At its best, when the creator is in its most authentic form, you might recognize it in a friend who's always sketching ideas, an entrepreneur who sees opportunity where others see limitation, or the writer who can't rest until they tell their story in a book. This energy brings color, form, and meaning into existence. But when the creator falls into its shadow side, which we call the saboteur, we see people who dismantle progress, delay action, or convince themselves that their work will never be good enough. What makes the creator unique is that nearly every other archetype depends on it in some way. Heroes need someone to imagine the path forward, rulers need symbols that unify, and sages rely on stories that transmit wisdom. Without the creator, human progress and culture are stuck at a standstill. With the creator, we discover new ways to live, express, and connect. By the end of this video, you will have a full understanding of the creator archetype and how to avoid the pitfalls of its shadow, using examples from pop culture, mythology, and real life so that you can become a master creator in your own life. Carl Jung described 3 layers of the psyche that help us understand archetypes like the creator. The ego, or the conscious mind, is the everyday I that makes choices and interacts with the world. The personal unconscious holds forgotten memories and suppressed thoughts. This is also where the shadow hides, qualities we push away but that continue to influence us. For the creator, the shadow is especially tricky because it disguises itself as high standards, when in reality, it's fear holding us back. The collective unconscious is the deep layer shared by all people, filled with universal patterns, also known as the 12 archetypes. The creator is one of these archetypes, representing originality, innovation, and the human drive to give form to ideas. Humans have always been makers, shaping the world in ways that reflect their inner vision. The creator archetype embodies the drive to bring imagination into reality, whether through art, invention, or storytelling. It is about taking something intangible and giving it form, leaving a lasting impression that others can experience and learn from. Some examples of the creator archetype in action include Walt Disney, who transformed sketches of simple characters into a universe of entertainment that spans generations. Frida Kahlo, who channeled personal struggle into paintings that communicate universal human experiences. Nikola Tesla, whose ideas redefined technology and modern life despite facing repeated setbacks. And Mary Shelley, who imagined Frankenstein, exploring creation, ambition, and the human condition. The creator thrives on originality, curiosity, and persistence. But the very energy that drives creation can also become tangled, stalled, or misdirected. Without focus, ideas remain unrealized, and inspiration can be lost to distraction, perfectionism, or self-doubt. The challenge of the creator is to turn vision into action without letting it slip away. Think of a time when you had an idea that excited you, but it never saw the light of day. Maybe you convinced yourself it was not good enough, or that someone else has already done it better. That inner critic is the saboteur in action. Every creator carries a shadow, the saboteur. This is the part that undermines progress through inaction, distraction, or constant second guessing. The saboteur can appear as endless tinkering with a project that never reaches completion, obsessing over details, or doubting the value of what is being created. It turns energy inward, blocking output and leaving potential untapped. In real life, this might look like a writer who never finishes their novel, an inventor who abandons a prototype, or an artist who destroys their own work before anyone can see it. The result is frustration, wasted effort, and a sense of creative stagnation. Some examples in which we see the saboteur in action include George Lucas revising Star Wars long after release, struggling with perfection and completion. Miss Havisham in Great Expectations, whose heartbreak freezes her life and potential, leaving decay in her wake. Tony Stark in Iron Man 2, whose ambition and brilliance verge on self-destruction when unchecked. The Saboteur emerges when creative energy is misdirected, stalled, or consumed by internal conflict. But it can also serve as a warning. The presence of this shadow reminds the creator to balance ambition with focus, and to channel inspiration into tangible results. Figures like Frida Kahlo demonstrate the opposite path, showing that creation can transform struggle into purpose, leaving something meaningful for the world. Has doubt or perfectionism ever held you back? The Saboteur may be present, but it is not permanent. By acting on your vision, you can reclaim your creative energy and build something lasting. Let's explore 4 major strengths of the creator archetype. These qualities can shape how we think, create, and leave a lasting mark on the world. To bring these principles to life, I'll include examples from history, pop culture, and the arts. Number 4 is often the most underappreciated, but it can completely change how you approach your own creative work. Let's go ahead and start with number 1, visionary innovation. Visionary innovation lies at the heart of the creator. Nikola Tesla exemplifies this, as his ideas went far beyond the technology of his time. From alternating current to radio waves, Tesla imagined systems and possibilities that others could not yet even conceive, laying foundations that continue to influence the modern world. In your own life, visionary innovation shows up whenever someone takes an abstract idea and finds a way to make it tangible. It's seeing possibilities others dismiss as impossible or daring to make them real. The creator reminds us that progress often begins with the courage to imagine something entirely new. Speaking of imagination, it's simple to just have an idea, but when a creator truly flourishes is when they bring them to life in ways that others can experience and learn from. At number 2, we have authentic self-expression. This is a signature trait of the creator. Vincent van Gogh demonstrates this brilliantly, turning intense personal experience into paintings that continue to move people more than a century later. His art was never meant to be about pleasing others. It was about communicating the truth of his inner world, raw and unfiltered. We see this in everyday life when someone chooses to communicate themselves fully, whether through writing, painting, music, or any craft. Authentic expression allows us to connect with others while remaining true to ourselves. The creator archetype teaches that the value of what you make often comes from its honesty, not its popularity. And when self-expression meets purpose, it can start to ripple beyond the individual and reshape communities. So at number 3, we have transformative impact. Creators have the power to change culture, society, or even entire worlds. In Black Panther, the fictional country of Wakanda illustrates this concept by taking technology, art, and heritage and transforming them into a model of possibility in an advanced society. In music, innovators like Ludwig van Beethoven, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, Led Zeppelin, and Jimi Hendrix, who all reshaped what people thought instruments and sound could achieve, leaving a lasting cultural imprint. Transformation is a creator's gift, taking imagination and using it to shift how people live, think, or feel. Even small acts of creation like a new teaching method, a viral piece of art, or a groundbreaking product can ripple outward, altering perception and experience in ways that leave a lasting imprint. But there's no vision or expression that matters if you don't see it through. Which brings us to number 4, persistence through craft. Persistence is often the quiet power behind creation. J.R.R. Tolkien, for instance, spent years building the world of Middle-earth, crafting languages, histories, and stories in meticulous detail before sharing it with the world through his books The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. His dedication transformed his imagination into one of the most enduring literary legacies in modern history. In everyday life, persistence looks like finishing a novel, refining a piece of music, or completing a long-term project despite obstacles, criticism, or setbacks. The creator archetype demonstrates that brilliance goes beyond flashes of inspiration. Brilliance is about showing up repeatedly, refining, and building with patience until your vision becomes real. So when you combine vision, expression, impact, and persistence, the creator archetype shows us what it means to leave a meaningful mark on the world. But it is definitely easy to become self-critical, a perfectionist, and be burnt out if you slip too far into the shadow side. So how can we avoid falling too deep into the shadow? Every gift has its shadow. The Saboteur is the darker side of creation, which includes self-doubt, destructive obsession, or relentless striving that works against progress instead of fueling it. These traits often appear when creativity is driven by insecurity, frustration, or an unchecked need for control. This can all easily turn the creator's spark into exhaustion, bitterness, or collapse. So it's vital for you to recognize the Saboteur shadow in order to channel creativity into growth, or else you risk ruining yourself and your creations. Let's go ahead and start with the first one. And I'm sure you've seen the others in not only yourself, but in stories and real life celebrities or historical figures. At number 1, we have perfectionism. Perfectionism is one of the most common traps for creators. Leonardo da Vinci, though a genius, left behind countless unfinished works. His endless revisions and constant pursuit of the perfect form reveal how perfectionism can paralyze progress. The desire to refine every detail prevented many of his ideas from ever reaching completion. In real life, this shows up whenever someone spends so much time tweaking, editing, or reworking a project that it never sees the light of day. What begins as high standards can slide into paralysis. It can be tricky because perfectionism disguises itself as excellence, but in truth, perfectionism often stops creation altogether. Just don't overthink it and trust in your creations. And when perfectionism stops progress, it usually opens the door to an even harsher enemy. And that's why at number 2 we have self-criticism. Creators often hold themselves to impossible standards. When those standards are not met, the Saboteur takes over in the form of self-criticism. Sylvia Plath, an American poet and author from the 1950s, for example, struggled with this shadow, pouring immense pressure onto herself to write flawlessly. Her talent was unquestionable, yet her inner critic often eclipsed her achievements, leaving her in cycles of doubt and despair. There is no denying that her work is timeless and inspirational, but when you drown yourself in self-criticism, you don't allow yourself to enjoy the fruits of your labor. For everyday people, self-criticism can look like abandoning a project after comparing it to others, or deleting work before anyone else can see it. Maybe you've had dreams of being a writer, a painter, a sculptor, or a content creator, but then you see the work of others and convince yourself that you will never be as good. This shadow convinces the creator that their voice does not matter. Left unchecked, this self-criticism silences innovation before it even begins. Allow yourself to get started. All those who are good at what they do had to start somewhere. And sure, while self-criticism can help you improve, letting it consume you will only stop you from achieving your dreams. But sometimes this problem isn't just having doubt. Sometimes it's obsession that consumes everything in its path. So at number 3, we have destructive obsession. The Saboteur shadow appears as obsession when the creative drive twists into something dangerous. Mary Shelley's Victor Frankenstein is the clearest example. Victor Frankenstein's brilliance and vision led him to create life itself, but his obsession blinds him to responsibility and consequence. The result is tragedy for himself and for those around him, as his creation turns into a monster that unalives people. In real life, this shadow isn't always so dramatic, but it still can be destructive. The story of Frankenstein's monster is a metaphor for this kind of saboteur after all. Think of an inventor, artist, or entrepreneur who pours everything into their vision, but ignoring the toll it takes on their health and relationships. Someone might work tirelessly on a startup, sacrificing sleep, health, and relationships, convinced that success will justify it all. Or a musician may lock themselves in the studio for weeks chasing perfection, only to burn out or alienate the very people they wanted to inspire. Instead of bringing something beautiful into the world, the obsession corrodes their well-being and only leaves harm. And even when the obsession doesn't destroy, it can still erode the creator from within through sheer exhaustion and negatively affecting their mental health. At number 4, we have burnout. Creative energy is powerful, but it is by no means limitless. Burnout is the final shadow of the creator. Burnout makes me think of Kanye West, whose earlier music showed extraordinary innovation and focus, but over time, because of constant pressure, overexposure, and unrelenting output, it's all taken a toll on him. His recent public struggles and decline in artistic consistency highlight how burnout can fracture both the work and the person behind it. Maybe you've seen this in your own life. Moments when pushing too hard to create only drain the joy out of the process. On top of reducing the quality, burnout can cause the creator to abandon their craft entirely prematurely. It's okay to take breaks or even to retire at some point. But when you end things, when there was so much potential there, left untapped, had you allowed yourself to have a moment to breathe and collect your thoughts, there could have been more for you to create. The Saboteur feeds on exhaustion, convincing the creator that they no longer have anything left to give, or leaving you lazily chasing trends instead of going back to the masterful entrepreneur you once were. The authentic creator eventually realizes that inspiration is not enough. Their path is about learning to balance imagination with discipline, expression with responsibility, and originality with connection. When the Saboteur shadow appears, it tempts the creator into perfectionism, self-doubt, and destructive obsession. By confronting this shadow, creative energy can be redirected toward meaningful work that actually endures. Drawing on other archetypes can help the creator stay grounded. The ruler's structure brings order to vision, preventing ideas from scattering. The sage archetype offers perspective, ensuring that imagination is guided by insight rather than fantasy. And the caregiver reminds the creator that art and innovation thrive when they serve not only the self, but also the wider community. If you'd like to dive deeper into other Jungian archetypes, check out my playlist here. And for more on other topics in psychology, spirituality, and how the world affects you, check out this video here.